Here is your last speaker, last but not the least. Antonio Roberts is an artist and musician based in Birmingham, UK, working primarily with video, code, and sound. He is critically engaged with the themes surrounding network culture, and in his practice, he explores how technology continues to shape ideas of creation, ownership, and authorship. As a performing visual artist and musician, he utilizes live coding techniques to demystify technology and reveal its design decisions, limitations, and creative potential. His work has been featured at galleries and festivals, including Further Field, Tate Britain, Ukrainian Institute of Modern Art in Chicago, Birmingham Open Media, Jerwood Arts, Whitney Museum of American Art, Green Man Festival, Barbican, Victoria and Albert Museum, and New Art Exchange. He has curated exhibitions and projects, and there are many exhibitions and projects. Yeah, many. Well, some of them are Glitch Birmingham, Bring Your Own Beamer, Stealth, No Copyright Infringement Intended, Copy-Paste, and Rules of Engagement. From 2014 to 2019, he was the curator at Vivid Projects, where he produced the Black Hole Club Artist Development Program. In 2021, he co-founded the Algo Afro Futures, that's Algo Afro, Futures program for early career Black artists to learn about live coding and creative coding. Antonio Roberts, I'm excited. I'm sure the audience is as well. Please, the floor is yours.
Hi everyone, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, it turns out I've done a lot of things in my career. It's weird having it read back to you. So, yeah, as mentioned, I'm an artist, curator, and musician based in Birmingham in the UK. And today I'm here, just like everyone else, to talk in some way about artificial intelligence. But I want to do it from more a personal side of things, because I'm a digital artist, and I have a very direct relationship with artificial intelligence. Because it both threatens my practice, threatens to displace me, take over, but also, as I say, it could provide opportunities for creation, maybe, may not. So, but for me, a lot of this feels a lot like deja vu, like this has happened before. Throughout my career of about 15 years, I've seen multiple new things that are going to disrupt the art world, the art industry, make it, yeah, various things like NFTs, blockchain, virtual reality. I think virtual reality has come around 3 times now. Same with artificial intelligence, we're on its 3rd or 4th iteration. And each time, all of these really don't quite stick. They might have a bit of a hype cycle around them, but then they sort of fall to the wayside a bit. Like, for example, virtual reality still does exist, but certainly hasn't taken over in the way that they said it would. Same with, by extension, I guess, with the metaverse. But somehow, this artificial intelligence moment we're in feels a little bit different. It feels more significant, and there's potentially, maybe this will stick. Maybe there are threats that we haven't seen, that we haven't been able to foretell. And so in this presentation, I want to basically ask, should I really engage with AI? Should I? AI? And to do this, I want to talk a little bit about art history, so there will be a little bit of repetition from earlier. So I want to talk about its effect, and also reflect on what I see my peers doing as well. Of course, I'm not going to be able to, haven't done a survey of artists, but I at least want to reflect on what my peers are or are not doing with artificial intelligence. So yeah, so to begin, I want to show just a couple images of my artwork. I make artwork using computers in various ways, through programming, through 3D modeling. Again, I'll talk a little bit about this more soon. Some of it actually has focused a lot on copyright. For example, this artwork featuring Mickey Mouse, which, again, won't go into, but just to say that I'm engaged in those areas as well. But yeah, so to say that I'm a digital artist might be a bit too broad of a term, because digital artists can include performers, illustrators, graphic designers, and, well, myself. And so I'd say I more belong to a group of artists known as new media artists. The term is certainly not perfect, because everything's always new, what is new. But it really, I think, for at least definitely the purposes of today, I want to categorize myself and my peers as new media artists. And as new media artists, we interrogate technology. We use it for sure, but we interrogate it, we criticize it, we engage with it on a conceptual level, and we want to find out almost new ways of using this technology, ways that may have been designed, but maybe weren't designed. And so, yeah, and this practice has gone back before computers were popularized in the way that they are now. So, for example, I want to share this is a very, very brief art history, or at least new media art history. There's going to be a lot that I'm going to miss out. There's going to be some repetition from earlier, but still, it will help. Sorry? No, it's okay, no worries. It just means that we're both making good points. Anyway, so there will be a bit of repetition. So this artwork from the 1960s by Vera Molnar, she was creating generative artwork using code and plotters, so plotters being machines that basically draw. And so it's kind of like a repurposing of an existing technology, but for the purposes of visual art. And so this was in the 1960s. And then you have Robert Rauschenberg. There was an event called 9 Evenings in 1966. And in this artwork, Robert Rauschenberg, it's called Open Score. The performance piece was people playing tennis, but the sound of it was amplified. So the tennis rackets were kind of like hacked a little bit to include these microphones, and so if I encourage you to try and find, well, the videos are widely online, but again, this artwork was pioneering for the time. And then an artist which was again mentioned earlier, Namjoon Paik, who really, not necessarily the inventor of video art, but definitely engaged with it so much and popularized it, I would say. He's very well known for his TV sculptures, behemoth sculptures of stacked TVs. My description doesn't do it justice. And also this artwork from 1st of January 1984 called Good Morning, Mr. Orwell. And of course, especially for those watching online right now, we're all familiar with live streams and simultaneous broadcasts, but maybe not quite so in the 1980s. So this artwork was a simultaneous broadcast between New York and Paris, and they were kind of like trying to collaborate with each other. So in various points of the video, you see one presenter kind of inside of a green screen trying to interact with the video feed of the other country. It was chaotic. It was a chaotic, not even mess, but still that chaos really emphasized the liveness of the performance. It was a day-long performance. And yeah, so some call it one of the first pieces of video art. And so yeah, there you have, very briefly, the 1960s to 1980s. Again, there's so much that's being missed here. And then I'm going to skip forward a little bit to Web 1.0, the mid-90s to the early 2000s. And you have artists beginning to adopt a sort of hacker mentality of working with technology, but computers. So here you have the artist Jody, whose website, well, because the internet existed, and people were basically almost like creating digital business cards, static websites that would exist and share information. But Jody took it a bit of a step further. So if you were to view the source code of the website, within that was the artwork that you see. So the front of the website did not look like this at all, but as soon as you viewed the source code, there is some art. So it's kind of a repurposing and something very different which hadn't been seen, especially at that point. And then you had artists like Martin Nedam, who had this artwork called Mouchette, which is, you could almost even call it like digital avatar almost, this being, an imagined person called Mouchette, who you could kind of like write to and interact with. Something, of course, very common now, having a profile online, but this interactive artwork, pioneering for the time, for sure. And similarly, Lina's artwork, My Boyfriend Came Back from the War, from 1996. And they're really utilizing the websites in themselves, not just as a way to display physical art, but put it online. No, they are treating the internet and this technology as a fabric with which to work with, like it is the medium in itself. And yeah, so this is like the Web 1.0 days, the AOL days, GeoCities and so on. And yeah, there's so much more I'm missing glossing over. And then we're going to skip a decade or so to now, well, the mid-2010s, shall we say, which is sort of where I belong. And here social media is rife, everyone's using it, and really we're all interconnected. The internet allows us to spread ideas like wildfire, especially memes and animated GIFs. And yeah, we're experimenting further, and so you have artists like Rosa Mentman with her Glitch Studies Manifesto. I'll talk a little bit about glitch art in a second. And then Evan Roth, his artwork, Give and Take. And this, what I love about this artwork, brief description, as you browse the internet, you basically collect all the images, you're downloading them to your hard drive, and so here presented is his internet cache of all the websites he's visited, but like images from those being printed and displayed all over our gallery wall. So yeah, love Evan Roth's work. Nick Breeze did a performance called How/Why to Leave Facebook. This is back in 2014, before it got terrible. Well, probably still was. And people are now making performances on the internet and interactive artworks. And yeah, there's many more artists who are doing things like this. Zach Blass, Amelia Ullman. And we're beginning also, I think, to get more and more political and critical of the technology. We didn't quite yet enter the machine learning AI apocalypse, and things like the Cambridge Analytica scandal had yet to happen, but we were kind of almost beginning to see that there might be problems being interconnected, as the why leave Facebook, with all of our data being collected. And so we're almost like foretelling the future in many ways, and I think that's one thing that artists are good at doing. And yeah, and this is an area of digital art, of new media art, which I fit into, I feel. And I was primarily making artwork called glitch art. So glitch art looks a bit like this. It's people making art from errors. If you've ever broken a laptop screen before, or a phone, or you're trying to watch a video as it's downloading, you've seen glitches. And what I love about it is it's not quite coding, not quite programming, but it's very chaotic. You go into a file and mess around with it, and outputs is, chaos, but it's kind of beautiful in its own way. But also we have generative artwork, so making systems which produce art, very similar to 1960s Vera Molnar artwork. But so this here is a program which I wrote, which makes this art. This is only a screenshot from the video, and it's generative in that it will never repeat. It will always just kind of keep making itself, and it's generative. And so this is where I come in, really, with generative art. And funnily enough, it's kind of been lumped with the AI discourse a little bit. So I was there making these generative pieces of artwork and glitch art. And so what is all of this? Why am I mentioning all of this? And where does AI fit into all of this? So I think the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because as artists, as new media artists, we're very intensely engaged with the technology. We're not all engineers, but we all like to tinker. We all like to whenever we're presented with any new technology, VR, NFTs, whatever, we like to pick it apart, make something different out of it, make something new. And so, can we do that with AI? Can we engage with AI on the same sort of level? And, well, I'd like to argue that no, we can't. So, one of the opportunities people talk about when talking about how AI can be useful for artists is that it could be a digital assistant, or that it can help with the creation process in some way. But I feel like as a new media artist, it doesn't do that at all. I've looked at it, I've been curious about what it can do. I've typed into ChatGPT and Midjourney, create some artwork. But it doesn't feel like it fits into my practice. Of course, there are other concerns as to why I might not want to use AI in my practice. There are the ethical concerns, which we've covered, and I'm sure you may have read about, where AI disguising human labor, masses of artists revolting against AI being uploaded to lots of different platforms. Of course, there's the displacement of people's jobs. I don't want to gloss over it, but it's not quite what I'm focusing on in the talk. But is AI actually useful for artists like myself? And again, I'd say no, not really, because when you engage with, say, Midjourney, ChatGPT, it's almost like a service and user interaction. I type it in, it gives me the artwork. How does it work, though? Of course, it's going from a large data set. Can I get into that data set? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And it just feels like a very surface level interaction, which so here, I show this image because, this is part of my practice, is getting a device, getting something and picking it apart. And so, it just doesn't feel like something which, I'm going to say, it's boring. It's mundane and it's boring using artificial intelligence, at least for myself, and I feel like that's the same for artists similar to me, my peers as well, in that you just type something in and it gives it you back. How can you engage with it critically? As new media artists, the process is also very, very important to us. Sometimes it is just like, hey, look, I've achieved something, I've learned some new programming, and look, here's my code. Isn't it beautiful? Especially if you consider, say, the open source movement, where code really is at the forefront of the practice. We like to put our code, our performance, the technology front and center. And something which I've been engaged with recently is the live coding community and the algorithm scene, where we are performing, we're making art and music live on stage in front of people. But the code which we're using, which we're typing to make the artwork, is there in front of you. So here are photos of various people performing, and there's the code. I won't show a video because I don't want to stretch time and anything. And you can see what it is. As an artist, this is interesting to me because I'm exposing the inner workings of the computer. For the audience member, it's a way to engage with it. Maybe they don't understand code, but it can at least see something is happening. They can at least, it's like being able to just open the hood of a car and see, look, things are moving. But again, with AI, not really. You type something, it gives you back. Again, I know I'm hitting home the point a lot. And really, I feel that some of the best engagement with AI, some of the more creative and critically engaged works that I've seen that have been made with AI are usually ones that are being critical of it. So here, for example, is images from 2016. So as I said, AI, we're on its third or fourth iteration by now. And this image from 2016, sorry, it looks a bit oversaturated for you over there, is from it's a Google Deep Dream image. So back when people were still sort of having AI which would classify images, you put your phone in front of it and it'd go, hey, look, this is an apple, or this is a car. In order for it to do that, what is the computer actually seeing? So what this Google Deep Dream thing would do, this is what, and I'm putting air quotes here, this is what the computer sees when you are trying to scan a thing, a car or an apple, these various blobs, these sort of slug, puppy, dog-looking images. You can see especially one down at the bottom. And again, that was interesting because it's actually looking under the hood, and you see something a bit grotesque and, well, psychedelic, I think. And then also you have artists who, so here's another one as well. It's very slimy and sludgy looking. I quite like it. But then you also have artists who are making artwork which exposes the biases within the technology. As was said earlier, it's been trained on data sets, but it's largely Western world, those who are using the internet. And the way that the output is presented is some unquestioned truth. But it isn't. So here, Opinion GPT, you have an AI which, when you ask it a question, it will give you the responses as though, here's the response from a Western white male, or according to the data, to really just highlight that this is a biased piece of technology. And then finally, one of the examples that I really like is, again, this work which I commissioned a few years back from an artist called AM Dark, which it's like a narrative artwork where you're assessing the viability of an AI, trying to critique it. So again, these artworks are about AI, but from a critical perspective, much like a lot of the new media artists of decades before are critiquing this technology. So yeah, I'm going to wrap up in a second, but so if my assertion is true, and a lot of new media artists aren't engaging with AI in the way as like a service, a user using a service, should we be using it? And I'm going to say no, because, and I did say I wasn't going to harp on about it too much, but, and why does this moment feel different? And I feel it's because this is a technology where finally where it's displacing us, where it's not really been meant to be used by me, but it's going to potentially, well, threaten to take over my practice. Yeah, and that's why I feel like this moment is different. It's scary. It's something which I don't know how we fight against. Of course, we've been talking very much about different solutions, AI having wallets, being able to legislate against it all. But overall, and also we must remember that when we talk about the AI, it is being built by someone. It is being built by a company who has interests in mind. It isn't inevitable. So we also consider, who is, why cannot we decide AI? It isn't, because it's just such an opaque technology. So yeah, of course I'm only presenting the viewpoint of one particular type of artist, new media artists. Of course there are illustrators and graphic designers out there. But again, I'd like to just say that it isn't the sort of technology which you really can engage with on a critical level. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
This part when you say that the outcome is like psychedelic or psychedelic, yeah? Mm. The visuals. So yes. Usually it is like that with AI. So I don't know, actually then is there a question of what is art? I mean, with AI.
So the question it was about, so the output is sometimes psychedelic. So usually. Yeah, so what is art? What is art? Well, what is art? Yeah, obviously it's in the eye of the beholder, what the output they want to have. And so yeah, this just to go back to this sort of Google Deep Dream things, it's whatever the person wants to create, and sometimes you might want something a little bit like this. Of course, the AIs are always getting better and will produce more human-like images. But as I sort of argued towards the end, it's only going to get better at displacing artists. It's not going to be, I think, I would say. Yes.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm from the Swedish art organization. I was thinking you were saying that you don't want to do AI because of different reasons. Maybe I can kind of like detect it's like this critical because it's so commercial and someone else is like making money and you could be replaced as an artist. Would you then think that kind of like defying the AI as a tool for artists is like an activist action?
Oh,
or,
yeah. 100%, yes. The artists which I showed and the artworks that they've made are defying AI and this general movement towards using it. But I think that is the role of, well, not necessarily the role, but a thing which the artists which I showed from the 1960s, 2000s, and now are doing is not just blindly using it because it's new and shiny, but actually wanting to pick it apart.
Yeah, but then this is then the act of. So this is now that this time the act of defying it is to not pick it apart, like to not use it. I think that's the. Because as you said, like the previous artists been using new technology and picking it apart. That's like the fun part.
Yeah.
But now, like the activist action is to not use it.
And not only can we, to not use it, but again, I'm arguing that we cannot pick the AI apart because it's so opaque. Yes. You look into it and it's more like just a blob of everything rather than discrete bits of code which we can kind of or machinery which we can reconfigure. Oh, I think there's a question over. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for your statement. I think it's very important. Your speech and your show was very important because it's making more wide the borders in our discussion about IAA. Even like you say, there's an American philosopher from the lady about nowadays items. It's destruction and entertainment. Yeah, and who will have the black box of the intellect? And then I see now we are trying to find the border, how to stop, how to protect, how to do it. But you see the technology and the technology industry providing more and fast. And who is a faster, it will win. So it depends, of course, a turtle or rabbit who will be first. But anyhow, I think you mark a very important thing that actually, if you're using the new technology and the top new technology, because the IT industry producing the more and more new programs, how to use this artificial intellect more faster, and in our this conservative way to stop the law. Only it must be inside the borders of each country, by itself, because you know the 8 billion population of the world, more than billion in China, more billion in India. We don't stop it. So this AI will grow up and very fast. So I think you mark a very good point that because if you are so producing your art and it's existing only during your action, so what? Who will make this stop? Who will fix? It's your honor. And you also, for you, it's also hard to say it's my, because the next step. If you transmit it to something else, it will be next, because it's a AI. So I think it's a good interrupter of discussion for the next point. Then we will know a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I think there's another one. Just a couple of questions.
But do you have a comment or?
Oh, no. Thank you for your comment. Yes. Hi.
Hello. I'm Viktor Cvejic from Serbia. And just to say at the beginning, as a new media student, this whole presentation hit different. It strikes as increasingly relevant for our generation to problematize this technology, which will be civilizationally relevant and might completely alter our perception about ourselves and the civilization. But my question is about your opinions about the increasingly emergent and advanced technology that borders science fiction right now, which is the application of generative imagery by AI at telepathic technology, reading thoughts and translating them into images, which will be increasingly developed in the future years and currently resembles the level of development the AI image generators had maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it only signals that it's going to be as advanced as it is today really soon. So I don't know, because it opens a whole can of worms about the radical privacy breach, intimacy breach, surveillance capitalism that is currently mild compared to like literally living inside your head. But it's going to be definitely used in art if it becomes as advanced, and it's going to be almost inevitable to hop on that train if you want to be relevant at the speed of creation. So.
Yeah. So I didn't know quite yet. I haven't read about the telepathic kind of like transferring thoughts into images yet, but I think there's a very horrible tendency of technologists or to see science fiction and consider it a blueprint when it actually should be a warning. And so, yeah, in the development of those technologies, I think we have to ask basically who is it going to affect, because it's going to affect someone. Like, why is it being built? It's never just this sheer curiosity of what about if I could create that thing that I saw in a science fiction movie. It's usually to either displace some workers, could be a military thing, and that's the worrying side of things. That it can create images is more of a byproduct of what its other intentions and other uses can be. So again, even with the nice images that we're creating through Midjourney and the poems and essays we can create with ChatGPT, the technology has other uses, and I feel as a critical artist, it's my job and the job of others to almost, unfortunately, foretell the future, and in many times that's bleak. So yeah, it's and as you said, as an artist who is growing up doing that, please, yes, when you do get a new technology, be excited by it, but also ask the questions of like, well, it's in my hands. Do I own it? Can I actually manipulate it? Or is it another collection tool to harvest something else? I know that sounds a bit sort of tinfoil hat conspiracy side of things, but having seen what technology can do, I don't think I'm too radical in my thinking there. But yeah, thank you for your comment and question. Hi.
Thank you for your presentation. Very interesting. First, it occurs to me that you describe that something that is boring and not interesting is the lack of transparency of a system, and I cannot help within IAA you describe, and I cannot help like maybe to reason together, maybe, about democracy and as a system when there is a lack of transparency in a government system, then it's not productive. It doesn't go forward. It's not, and how we live with it. And we are living with this technology. We will live with this technology. So I cannot help but yes, to have it like to scratch my head a little bit, like how the importance of the transparency in systems that reach on a major level than the private. That's my thought.
Yeah, so yeah, for me, again, the comment about AI being boring, of course, just separately but relatedly, of course, you know, that anyone can create an image now through typing in prompts to a thing. I don't feel like it's useful that people can do that, but we've always been able to create art. So I don't know, like I don't feel that like this technology necessarily democratizes art further. So I was just saying that about you know, democracy and transparency and AI, but also yeah, the lack of transparency in these technologies and tools is really scary because, as I said, the AI is not some spirit thing that exists in its own world. It is being developed by a company for uses in places, and so we need to be able to interrogate, question, ask questions of it, regulate it, and unfortunately that doesn't seem to be being the case, but yet it is having a massive impact on society already in you know, the short, not even 2 years that it's been around. And so again, with looking back at technologies before AI, NFTs, VR, at least that we had some say in some of that. It was a product that we bought and we used. Sure, it connected to online services, whatever, but it was something that we could actually take apart and make something interesting with. So yeah, I say it's boring, at least the output of it, in that it doesn't say much more other than what's on the surface level, the images. You know, there's nothing about the artist, there's no story in it. So for me, that's why, as interesting as the images look, it's just the usage of it is quite a boring process. But yeah, in terms of transparency, yeah, that's what scares me a lot more about it. And I feel that, so just again to repeat a point I said back there, generating images seems to be the secondary purpose of Midjourney. There is another purpose. Yes, my tinfoil hat is on, but I feel there's another purpose behind it. I think there's another question.
I just also wanted to ask, similar to her, to address to the process that you say it's boring, because if what is art, like the outcome is psychedelic and the process is boring.
Yes.
And we are talking here about brain and thoughts and always about brain. But isn't it actually what is lacking is where is heart, emotions, expression, because all the history of art and if you see artists is doing with processing like some inspiration by emotions, like also music or something. But what is lacking in AI is that.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, the emotion is lacking behind you know, the output in itself until it is imbued with thoughts, feelings. Even if you imagine, for example, stock photography, people taking photographs to be used in other designs, they do have something about them, but of course you imbue the feeling and emotion with it once you create something with it. So the output of the Midjourney or whatever by itself doesn't have that until it is imbued with it. And so yeah, that's my statement, and I'm sticking to it. I think
we have one more question before we close. Timo, we started with you, now we're ending with you.
Yeah, a comment and a question. Some of the problems related to use of AI in the arts are really simple, and some of the benefits are really simple, in my opinion. Like, we know the simple problem of students writing their essays with AI and faking it like that, and we also know that artists are writing some of their grant applications with AI. Looking at the end result, that looks really convincing. I don't know what it means, but it looks convincing. I'll use it. And then there's the obvious benefits. I've been surprised to notice that I know many screenwriters who use AI to create plot lines for TV series or film or whatever, and it's just like a tool for them. I see no problem in that. And also with the music makers, that you create a bass line and then you create the prompt that, okay, add something like what DJ Shadow would add to this, and then combine that with Yannis Xenakis, even though for us it sounds really hard. And then something comes out and the music maker is happy to use that and take it further. That's not problematic at all for us from artistic viewpoint. But then I would really like to hear your opinion on this phenomenon where some artists are prompting the AI to create stuff and then are happy to present that as the final product. So that you can prompt the AI that write 30 poems with these prompts, and then I will publish them as they are, and telling that it was just AI reacting to these prompts. And this, I think, divides art lovers and art makers into at least two camps. In one camp, there are people who react like this, that okay, kind of interesting, these poems, but I'm not inspired to really peruse them and think about the potential meanings, because I know that there's no thinking or mind behind them. It's just mathematical reactions to a prompt. And then there's the other camp who is happy to acknowledge that there's nothing behind this, it's just empty shell, but I love it. And would you be able to imagine yourself in both of these camps or in only one of these camps?
Yeah, good question, especially as, I make artwork that is generative, that is code, and of course I make the code and then I sort of press play on the code and the artwork is whatever the thing makes. I see the difference in, I guess, what I'm doing here where I've got a piece of code or whatever, I've made a system, is that I've made the system. So at least there's some more authorship there. And so, when the person making the poetry and presenting it as a demonstration of the technology, sure, it's interesting. And that's it for me. It's just a demonstration of what the technology can do. It's almost akin to just turning on a machine and that you've just purchased or whatever, and that's it. And so it's, for me, very surface level. So as much as, of course, if you were to take it, like you said, as a prompt for a bass line and then you work with it as a part of another thing, for sure, people have been doing that with remix culture, collage art, DJ Shadow himself, making art through little bits of other things for a while. But it's, again, just using the service as is and calling it just the thing with almost, it feels like, and yeah, I think obviously it is controversial to say, but I just feel that's a bit lazy. You can hate me for that, but I feel it is just a bit lazy. I have to have a standpoint, and that is my, even as a curator, as an artist, that's what it feels like to me. You're welcome.
Well, thank you, Antonio.
Thank you, everyone. Cool.
It's time to wrap up our conference. Please take a seat. So it's been a long day. I hope you were inspired by various topics that were raised. I'm here to conclude our session with a comment and with a question. I recently talked to a friend whose husband is involved in the AI, but it's not the AI we've been talking mostly today. I asked her if she could tell me what is the big company about, because it's a big company that will generate a lot of money in the future. And she says, well, it's about very chaotic systems. And as a person who likes to think about the AI, I said to myself, so when there is a chaos, when there is a traffic jam, what can I do? Well, in the situation of the traffic jam, the best that you can do is to obey by the rules. And we, people who are present here, we belong to the institution of art. And we have to obey to the rules of the institution of art. And we have to ask a question whether in the society of tomorrow, the institution of art will still be relevant. So I would say that we go back to the evaluation tools, to the techniques, to the evaluation of styles, and when we get back to that, as Isidora mentioned, where is the soul of the AI? When we get to the rules that we have inherited through the discipline of art history and art criticism, we will be able to evaluate what is at stake and how we can go on from there. Thank you for your attention, and good luck with the AI-related future.